So I love that it's so versatile nowadays. Everyone's accessible to it, like we've touched on, and you can just express yourself with it depending on how you're feeling as well. So some days I'm really glam, and then some days I won't even wear any makeup. I feel like depending on how you're feeling can reflect with makeup, and I see this firsthand with all my clients that come in, and some people don't know where to start with makeup, like we said, and some people have their own routine, which is really nice to see because I feel like makeup's really personal and tailored to you, and being part of someone's, I don't know, like life routine, I suppose. I can't think of what the word to say, but being in someone's like personal routine just, I don't know, makes me just, I don't know, even though they don't know me.
Hello and welcome back to the Face It podcast. I'm your host, Jessica. Today we welcome a lovely new guest to the show, but of course, before we do, I did just want to ask you to consider leaving us a review. If you are an Apple user, you can go to your podcast app on an Apple device, search for Face It podcast and write us a review. Tapping the stars just rates us, which is amazing. So thank you so much if you do just tap stars, but obviously leaving a few extra words really, really does us a lot of favours. People can actually find out what you really think about the podcast. So please consider leaving that. The more amazing featured guests we can get on board, obviously, the better for you guys. So thank you very much. Don't forget you can rate, review and subscribe wherever you get your podcast too. So if you would like a chance to come on and chat to me about your experiences, share your stories and your expertise, then let me know. You can find us on Instagram at FaceItPod or message me personally at Jess_Messenger. That's Messenger, MESSENGER. I love to speak to you about your businesses. It is now, though, of course, time to introduce our guest today. So give a nice warm welcome to Jordan from Gloss Studios. Welcome, Jordan, to the Face It podcast.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Oh, great to be here. It's my first podcast, so it's all very exciting and new.
We love that. We love a first time podcast.
Yeah.
I will just go off the back of your name because I must admit it caught my eye. I love a little fancy name, and I do love it. I feel like it just rolls off the tongue. It's just nice. It feels luxury in the mouth
Yeah.
when you say it. So it's a bit of a silly first question, but you know, are you a lip gloss fan? Is that kind of
Oh, yeah.
where it came
Yeah.
from?
That's it. Well, the name was in my notes for probably a few years ago, actually. And I
Yeah.
kept going back to it, and then I was like, no, love it. It's short, sweet, and I love a
Yeah.
glossy glam. Definitely a lip gloss. Lip gloss girl.
Yeah, it's funny you say about you've kept it in your notes. You know, the amount of times I've done that on business names and not
Yeah.
even ones that necessarily pertain to what I'm doing currently. But I'll just get this little name in my head and I've got to write that somewhere because
Yeah.
at some point that's going to come in handy. So I love
That's
that you've done
it.
the
That's
same
it.
thing, really. So we'll talk a bit about you first then, Jordan. So before Gloss, who were you and what were you doing?
Well, before Gloss, I had a salon for about 4 years. I had it with a beautician. We had that just up the road, actually, from where I am now. And then before that 4 years, I kicked my dad out his garage, and I was doing clients from home and mobile, and that was when I was about 17. So I think I've always been
Yeah.
makeup, really.
You've just always done it then,
Yeah,
yeah.
always. I can't actually remember thinking, oh, I'm going to be a makeup artist. I just went to college and then started just doing clients here and there. And then, yeah, now we've got Gloss. So it's nice. It's nice. It's going well as well. I think I've been doing it now for about 8 years. Coming up to about 8 years now. And it's now picking up. I know that just
Mm.
sounds really like a really long time. But I think in this industry, especially with makeup, it takes a while to get
Mm.
your name out there for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's the same in any industry now, you know, because obviously, you know, I feel like a few years ago it was a little bit rarer to kind of do well on the internet, but I feel like it's open to everyone now to do well in
Yeah,
whatever they're doing. So it just makes it a bit harder to get anywhere with anything versus maybe
that's
10
it.
years ago, you
Oh
know,
god,
8 years ago. So yeah, everyone of making something of themselves, aren't they?
that's it. So I think like back then when I first started 8 years ago, um, makeup was new, no one had their makeup done, no one really thought,
Mm.
oh, I'm going to go to a makeup artist. So then it was like the clients were there, the audience was there, and then COVID hit, and then no one wanted makeup. So then now we've got to like start that 8 years all over again.
Yeah,
But
and I suppose you have to pivot your
yeah,
business slightly, which we'll come on to because I know there's a couple of other little things that you do within the
yeah,
Gloss brand as well. So we'll come on to that, and I'm guessing that's partly to do with coming out of the back of COVID.
that's it.
But as a makeup artist, what would you say your favourite trend over the past few years has been?
It's got to be the blushy, glowy, glossy,
Mm,
like pink toned glams, I think. So more of like your Charlotte Tilbury
yeah,
type.
I love that look.
Yeah, I think it's very versatile for everybody.
It's timeless. Yeah.
That's it. Exactly. You can look back at it in 10 years' time and still like the makeup. So I think it's just a timeless one. And an easy one, easy pleaser for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And actually, while you're talking kind of like brands and about kit, you know, have you found the brands that are being requested by clients have sort of shifted and changed over the past sort of 8 years since you
Yeah.
started?
Well, when I first did makeup, one of my fellow makeup artists at the time went over to Disney, and she basically sold all her kit to me, and it was all Elf products,
Yeah.
and I was like, never heard of Elf before. Um,
Wow.
so all my kit was her kit, her old kit, and it was all Alf, and I still have Alf in my kit now. But it's sort of shifted in the last few years where people are going more high street brands than
Mm,
having luxury brands. So I know back in the day it was all Mac, it was all
yep.
like Bobbi Brown, Dior, everyone wanted that in their kit. And now it's like Revolution, Alf, of
Mm,
course. Um, what else is a really good one? Oh, Be Perfect. They've sort of come out of nowhere.
mm.
But they're like high street brands, so you
I just
can't.
think the quality of high street has
Yeah.
come on leaps and bounds. You know, I remember part of the problem, at least from a consumer point of view, was that the pigment payoff was always a bit crap in high street
Yeah,
brands.
yeah.
That was always the issue. That's why
It
you
was
paid so
wishy
much.
washy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like they've really honed in on that pain point, and now a lot of the high street brands tend to have decent pigment load and stuff, don't they?
Definitely, definitely. And I feel like now it's more relatable to people. So
Yeah,
people don't want to walk into, say, Selfridges and spend like £50 on a bronzer that they don't know what they're going to do with it. So
yeah.
it's one of them, and it's so daunting as well. I find like a lot of my clients, and they're like, I don't even know where to start with makeup.
There's so much.
That's it, exactly. So I feel like now the high street brands, some of them are even better than the higher brands. People can play around a bit more now and experiment more with their own kits.
Do you think that we've gone into more of a, like, simplify mode? Because there was a
Yeah.
time, wasn't there, where I mean, even, you know, talking away from being a makeup artist, even just as a regular person, it's felt like you had so many
Oh
pieces
yeah.
of kit to use. Do you find that that's simplified down a little bit more now, like how clients like to do their own makeup?
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, I think in COVID, everybody went off makeup. I find it took a
Yeah,
while. It took about a year to wiggle my way back into people's
yeah,
lives.
to
'Cause
recover.
that's it. No one wanted their makeup done. No one was doing their own makeup. They got used to going to the shops without makeup on. And I feel like now when I do like my one-to-ones, you just break it down really simple, using the simple terms, doing like a four-step makeup makes everyone's life so much easier. I feel like
Mm,
looking at all these different steps and products, it's daunting for people, and they're like, what the hell? What am I doing with all of this? Especially if
yeah.
you're not in that world, and you're sat at home watching these makeup videos, and you're like, well, that's bronzer, that's blusher, that's highlighter. Oh,
Yeah.
what's an eyeshadow primer? It
You don't need, like, 10 brushes and,
that's
you know,
yeah,
all this you end up being a makeup artist yourself, I think, at one stage, it
yeah,
felt like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to get your perspective, from sort of a client point of view. And what trends do you think are here to stay? Is there
Oh,
anything that you've seen that you think, yeah, that's going to be around for a while?
oh yeah. So blush. It's the
Yeah.
one. Blusher. It's back and it's here to stay, I think, for sure.
Do you know
I
what's
remember,
so funny is I never went off blusher, so I was definitely uncool at one point because
but yeah,
I'm so
it
pale.
went
I've
off.
always needed it.
Yeah, it did, honestly. I remember doing glams and it was just contour and bronzer. And now I think, why was I doing that for about 4 years? And now blusher, it's like more blush the better. But I think
Mm,
it might go back to like the bronzer side of things, but darker blush maybe instead of like the bright pink at the
yeah,
minute. They've got like your pink under eye, pink here. I think that will calm down and it might just be a happy medium soon enough.
somewhere
But
in
yeah,
between.
definitely blush.
And where do you think that these, trends trickle down from? Obviously, it's popular culture.
Yeah.
But is there, we have things like the Kylie lip that was massive years ago or a few
Yeah.
years ago now. Like, is it generally just celebs, or do you find it from other sources as well?
TikTok now, I feel like, is the biggest influence for makeup, definitely.
Yeah.
I think you get all the big TikTokers, they'll start a trend and everyone sort of jumps on the trend. And if the trend sticks, it sticks. So like the fluffy brow, that came from Cara Delevingne, and that's
Mm.
just stayed really. No one's ever gone back from the fluffy brow. But yeah, I think the blush is definitely here to stay. There are a few trends going around TikTok which not sure about, but people are dabbling in it.
Which
So
ones are those? Tell me.
it's like the head. To be fair, I've seen a lot of the heavy glam coming back
Yeah.
on TikTok. The heavy glam, which just brings me back to when I first started and people wanted.
2016.
Yeah, that's exactly it. 2016, 2017
Yeah.
with the colour on the lids, with the half cut crease and sparkle.
Yeah,
Big lash line.
I have YouTube videos out there of me with this evidence.
Yeah,
I should probably take them down, but they are out there.
they
Um,
are crazy.
it's a sight to see. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There is. There's liner, there's about three different transition shades going on. And now it's just like bronzy eye and a bit of sparkle. That's it now. It's very
Yeah.
toned down.
Yeah, big time. It's very of its time. And it's funny that you've said TikTok as well, because do you feel that it's transitioned away from YouTube? Because obviously at one point YouTube
Yeah.
was huge.
Yeah. I feel like I have not gone on YouTube and uploaded the app in about over a year. And
Yeah.
I used to watch like YouTubers like Nikki Tutorials.
Yeah.
Um, oh, who else did I used to watch? Oh God, loads. I can't even name.
Loads. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think like I grew up with them, watching them, and then now they're all on TikTok. I feel like the shorter videos, it's just easier to watch instead of sitting and
yeah.
watching a half an hour video. So I feel like yeah, YouTube sort of going away a little
I
bit.
think that's the thing. I think it was that change, around the pandemic, sort of 2020, where there was that shift from long form content into like short
Yeah,
form content. And
yeah,
then people's attention spans just shifted. And like you say, I remember sat watching people for 40 minutes, an hour,
that's
sometimes going
it.
through an entire, they'd tell you a story at the same time and you'd just sit and chill with this person.
Yeah,
Whereas now people don't have the attention span for it. They won't make
no,
time in their day for it.
that's it. And I feel like, like a lunch break or after you finish work, you literally just sit and you just scroll through TikTok, 30-second videos, and it literally takes that like 2 seconds to catch someone's eye. And
Mm,
then they're on your account and then they see, everything you've got to offer. But I feel like TikTok is definitely a good platform. It's hard to get onto. I'm struggling at the minute with content
yeah,
on TikTok. It takes ages. But I
yeah,
feel like for the makeup and beauty industry, I feel like YouTube has now fizzled away from that
yeah.
and gone more towards TikTok and Reels as well on Instagram. They're just easier
Yeah,
to follow.
they're actually easier from a content creation perspective. I mean, I did, if 5 years ago, I did an entire YouTube boot camp out of LA, and I spent 6 weeks and a lot of money learning
Yeah,
how to utilize YouTube, which helps me for this, which is great. I can help faces. But yeah, it was the thing. Whereas now I think you can just have your phone, you could cut
yeah,
together a 30-second clip.
that's it.
I mean, wow, that would have been a lot easier 5 years ago than doing what I was doing.
Definitely. And I just feel like it's more accessible for people and people that don't know how to do all of that, like how to film your videos,
Yeah,
how to do content. It's so easy just to do like use your phone camera and just start doing a little 30-second video on
yeah.
TikTok. They make it so easy for you.
Keep it simple. Like the makeup, keep it simple,
That's
simplify.
it. Simple and effective, quick and easy.
So okay, tell me about a makeup disaster, whether it's yours, a friend's that you know, or if you've got a story, if you're brave, a
Yeah.
client. Yeah, tell me one of those.
Okay, so this is back when I first started. She was one of my first clients. I don't even know if she will want me saying this, but she was fine. It was more me. So went to a house. I didn't drive at the time, so my mom drove me. Dropped me off outside. I was like, I won't be long. Went in with my kit, all excited. I was like, yeah, first prom makeup. And this was a time where I didn't have really like a structure of what I wanted to do. So I started off doing the base, so like your foundation, your contour, all that stuff. Did all that, and then she was like, "Oh, I want pink," and this was in the time where it was like pink
Pink,
shadow, all
neon.
these transitions, the half cut crease, glitter, lashes, the lot. She wanted the lot. So I was like,
Wow.
"Oh my god, yes, amazing! It's gonna be great." Started doing it, and then like halfway through moved my hand down, and she literally had all along here just
Oh no.
bright pink shadow, just literally all there. And I hadn't powdered, and I was like, oh my god. And she had to go to a prom in like 2 hours, and my mom was still sat outside, bless her. And I literally ran out, and I was like, Mom, it's been a disaster. So I had to
Oh
take
no.
all the I had to take all the makeup off, and but I had to keep calm. I didn't stress, but I literally inside just wanted the floor to
You wanted
swallow
to
me whole.
die.
That's it. So she literally just looked like this pink mess by the end of it, because I just tried to like blend it, and I
Yeah.
was like,
Oh my
it's
god.
not working. So I was like, no, we're gonna have to take all this off. So another hour went by, did all that. It was all fine, but I was absolutely mortified. And then now I do the eyes first, no matter what I'm doing. If it's pink
Yeah.
nudes, don't even talk to me about it. I've got I've got trauma.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, I could never understand the concept of doing eyes first until 2016, that era of the really heavy
Yeah,
glam look. And then I was like,
yeah,
okay,
we
I
got
get
it.
why. I get
That's
why
it.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's that story is just stuck with me. It's that feeling of just, oh my god, her whole face is bright pink, and she looked like a Teletubby. So I
Well, you
just
know
that
what?
just
We've
stuck with
all
me.
we've all got to start somewhere, Jordan. Let's
That's
put it
it.
that way.
That's it. First glam. That's it out the window.
Tick.
Yeah.
Um, s- Bringing it away from the disasters then. What is it you love most about doing makeup?
So I love that it's so versatile nowadays. Everyone's accessible to it, like we've touched on. Um, and you can just express yourself with it, depending on how you're feeling as well. So some days I'm really glam, and then some days I won't even wear any makeup. I feel like depending on how you're feeling can reflect with makeup. And I see this firsthand with all my clients that come in. And some people don't know where to start with makeup, like we said, and some people have their own routine, which is really nice to see, because I feel like makeup's really personal
Yeah.
and tailored to you, and being part of someone's, I don't know, like life routine, I suppose. I can't think of what the word to say, but being in someone's like personal routine just, I don't know, makes me
Mm,
just, I don't know, even though they don't
just
know
love
me.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and helping people as well. So I have a lot of clients that come in and they're like, "Oh, I use this and I use this, and I'm used to this type of makeup," and I try and direct them in the right way where it's they don't get offended, and they leave with a little bit of knowledge, with an upgraded, you know, knowledge of makeup. And then
Mm.
I have a little story. So I had a lady come in for her daughter's bridal trial, and she came in, she's like, she was quite a bronze lady, auburn hair, stunning. And I was like, right, what's your makeup routine? What are you used to? And she says, oh, I wear porcelain from, I can't think what brand it was. I want to say Dior. And I said, what? No. And that is like pale, cool tone. And I said,
Yeah.
no, you don't. She's like, yeah, I went into Boots. They matched me as this. And I said, no, no, no. And I struggled with her for a while to try and sway her towards, right, we need to put some bronze on you. We need to bronze you up, warm you up. And took her a while. She was a bit taken back after, which
Mm.
I think with makeup it does. And I think with your base, you definitely see the difference more.
Yeah.
And it can shock you a little bit. You are like, oh, my complexion's completely different. I look like a different person. So she was a little bit like that. And then I saw her a few weeks after and she went, George, you've changed my life. I'm bronzing. She went into Boots and she was like, no, this is not my shade. She had a tangent in Boots, bless her, telling them off. So I feel like it's nice to sort of shake people out of their makeup ruts as well. I love that.
Yeah, massively. Because you do,
Yeah.
I think because the industry as a whole is so overwhelming from a client
Oh,
point of
yeah.
view, there's so much that you get just, it's your old faithfuls. Even if they're not quite right, I know it's halfway there. So let's just stick with it
Yeah.
because I daren't venture out and spend £30 here, £40 there to like find that I've gone full circle and come back to what I like anyway.
Exactly. And it's you go and you say like you walk into Boots and you've got Fenty, you've got Clinique, you've got Dior, you've got NARS, MAC, all these brands
Mm,
looking at you and you're like, well, where do I go? What's good for what? And do I just
mm.
get all my makeup from one brand or do I get foundation from this brand, eyeshadows from that
Yeah.
brand? And even as a makeup artist, it's so hard to try and get your get your clients and your kit to sort of match. So trying
Yeah.
to condense your kit to like your favorites. It's taken me, well, I've been doing it 8 years and I still have my fan faves, but I'm
Yeah.
always testing out products, but it does get expensive. So I feel like
Oh God, yeah.
that's it. That's what our like professional makeup artists are for. That's who you go to for the advice. We invested it for you, I suppose.
I know. I was literally talking to a makeup artist the other week, and we were saying, I personally think your guys' kits are possibly some of the most expensive kits out of any industry. You
Oh,
spend the most amount of money, away from aesthetics and hair. I feel like your kits are definitely up there as the most pricey.
got to have everything. You've got
Yeah.
to have absolutely everything. You've got to
Every
have,
shade.
yeah, and you've got to have every foundation for every skin type, every undertone. You've got pink,
Yeah.
you've got yellow, all these different
The
undertones,
dates, the
and
fact they run out of dates,
that's it.
it's
That's it. You've got
oh,
12 months to use them.
yeah, yeah,
But it's
and,
all concealers, powders. Honestly, I have palettes that I've not touched, like eyeshadow palettes that I've not touched, that no one wants anymore. So you've
yeah,
got all these palettes with all these different colours in. I'm like, no, I'll keep it just in case someone asks for an electric blue eyeshadow. No one's
yeah.
gonna want that anymore.
No,
But
it's
you
true,
keep it.
and I think
Just keep
it
everything.
is the expiry side of things that makes it so, heartbreaking in a
Oh
way,
gosh,
because like you say, you never know when the tide's gonna change in the trends. You don't know
yeah.
what client's gonna want, so you still have to have these more obscure things in your kit, but you can bet your bottom dollar you've just blown that £50 or £100 because you're probably only gonna use it once, if ever.
That's it exactly. So the turnaround on a kit is yearly, but I feel like I run out of concealers mostly. Concealers and
Mm.
foundations I run out of most of the time, and they're like £40 a bottle for a foundation now. So it's an expensive game to play.
It is, but that's why we come to you guys for your experience. So we'll go on to brides a little bit now because I know you
Oh
work with
yeah,
a lot of brides in your gloss bridal part of the business. So
yeah.
did you always want to work with brides, or did this just evolve over time?
Definitely evolved over time. I was so nervous to do brides and I never felt good enough. When I first started, I never felt good enough to be in that higher clientele bracket.
Mm,
I always feel like brides are just the top client that you want, really.
mm.
That's why you charge a little bit more. Um, they're your higher end client, and I just felt very nervous to do them. Whenever someone would ask me, I would be filled with anxiety. I'd be like, no, no,
Yeah.
don't have me part of your day. I don't want to,
Yeah.
get involved. I don't want to get involved. And I think the year before COVID, that's 2019. That was like my first year. I probably had about 20 weddings in the year, and I was
Oh,
like, oh
wow.
yeah. And I got a few under my belt, and then I was like, yeah, great, done a few now. I've got the gist of things. Altered maybe a few products and done like more of a higher end side of things. Started to build up sort of my bridal kit, and then COVID hit. So
Oh
bridal
my
kit
god.
had to be binned. that,
Yeah.
that was it. And then
Oh my
after
god.
I know, honestly, after COVID, I had then an influx of just a backlog of brides from 2020 that couldn't get married, and now they're all getting married in 2021, 22. And then that was it. I was like, right, I need to really knuckle down on this bridal scene, and I've just not looked back. I love doing brides now. I love it. It's so easygoing. It's so nice being a part of someone's morning as well, like the personal
Yeah.
aspect of things. It's just like that's someone's wedding prep, like you're part of
Yeah.
that. It's just great. I love it. It's just a good vibe with all the girls, all the girls in the morning getting drunk on prosecco.
I was gonna say to you, how do you manage that wedding day stress? But
Yeah,
it sounds like you've kind of got that under wraps now. Does that just come through experience?
I think so. Like when I did the brides before COVID, I had a few that were very stressed, worried about a lot of things, and then now since that, I feel like no one's worried about a lot of stuff anymore. And I know
Yeah.
that
A
sounds
bit
very
more
strange.
chill.
I feel like brides now are so laid back. What will be, will be. I think straight after COVID, I think everyone was just happy to be getting married. So,
Yeah.
because they've been waiting for so long. And now, if anything, if I feel like there's, I don't know, a certain atmosphere, or I don't know, maybe the bride's not happy with their makeup or they need to change something, I don't change my vibe. I feel like when
Yeah.
they pick up on you worrying, then they start
Mm.
worrying, and they're like, "Oh no, if the makeup artist is
Is
worried,
there something to be worried
that's
about?
exactly." So you just have to stay really positive, come in bubbly, come in really confident, and they won't be worrying about you. They'll be worrying about the cake or flowers or something else.
Yeah.
That's it. I
Yeah.
feel
I mean,
like
I was gonna say, what qualities do you think you need to make it as a bridal makeup artist, in your opinion?
stay calm, cool, and collected for sure, and
Mm.
be organized. And be organized, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I think really finesse your soft glam. Really get that down to a T. The amount of brides that just have the same makeup, and it
Mm.
does look different on everybody, but you've got to get that soft glam that's going to last 12 hours of the day.
Yeah.
It's that happy medium of the natural makeup, but it's got to last like a full makeup will.
Yeah, it's there's a bit of an art to it, isn't there? And I think, like you
Uh,
say, you've just gotta put a lot of time and energy into practicing it and then getting out there and just getting over the fear really and just going for it and doing it.
That's it. And I feel like the nerves will never go. And I always do when the bride goes off and then I start packing away. I'm like, oh, I hope that lasts. Or, oh, I hope she's got enough powder with her, because I just don't want any creasing or oily patches. I think that's just like my worst nightmare, seeing pictures and their makeup is not photographing well. But hopefully I've never had that. I don't think I have. But
Have
I
you
think
ever
that's everyone's worry.
have you ever done a wedding abroad? You
No,
not had to do
I would
that
love
drama?
to do that. That's my dream, doing destination weddings. I'd love to do
Yeah,
that.
I got married abroad and it was I think we were about 34 degrees that day. And I did
Wow.
my own bridal makeup, so I did
Yeah.
do makeup for a little while. I absolutely hated it, just so you know. I didn't get on with it at all. It was
I
not for
feel like
me.
it's a Marmite situation.
It
Yeah.
is, and I definitely knew I didn't want to do brides. Hence why some of my questions are phrased the way they're phrased, because I'd love to know how you've got on so well with it. But yeah, I did my own for my wedding, and that was one of the key things was trying to make it through that heat for
Yeah.
12 hours and still have a matte enough face. It's not dripping off. It's not sweating everywhere. I think I did okay considering I'm not as talented as you.
It is hard. It's that happy medium. I say this to a lot of brides. I say, you want to look like you don't want to look like someone different. You need a
Yeah.
makeup that's timeless. Because again, you don't want to look back in 10 years' time and be like, oh my god, why have I chosen that? Or that,
Why
oh,
did I have
you
a
might
huge
have
blue
chosen that
cut
now.
crease?
That's, yeah, why have I chosen a neon cut crease today? Yeah. Um, yeah, I stress this to my brides in every trial. I'm like, right, you need makeup on, because so many people are so nervous to put makeup on, and
Right.
they find these pictures on Pinterest, and I think they forget that these pictures on Pinterest are edited. They're wearing
Yeah.
a lot more makeup than what it looks, and I think you need the makeup on to last, but you need that happy medium for it to look an effortless glam. That's the hardest thing, I think, in the makeup industry, is that fine
Yeah.
line.
I
Definitely.
agree, and I think, like you say, I think when people don't understand the nuances of photography and video as well,
Yeah,
because for makeup to translate onto photo and video, it does need to be a little bit heavier than
oh
what
god,
it would
yeah.
look like in person. And I think sometimes trying to get that message across that yes, it might look in person like we've done a little bit more than you would like, but that's going to translate really well when it comes to your
That's
photos
it.
and your video.
That's it. When you start videoing, especially from far away, you don't
Mm,
want your face to just wash out, because it all does. It all
yeah,
just sort of merges into one if you don't put enough on.
yeah,
Um, and it's hard to explain to a non-makeup bride.
it is.
It's hard to explain that.
It's trust me. This is why you've
Yeah,
hired me.
trust
Trust
me.
me. That's all you've got to go on
That's it.
is my portfolio and
Yeah.
trust.
Just go off my word, please.
Yeah. So bringing it round to you're now offering brow maintenance packages as well. So this is what I
Yes.
mentioned earlier on when we were talking about you've kind of developed some of the services that you offer. Was that off the back of COVID as well that you felt like you needed to develop the business a little bit?
Well, before COVID, I always did brows. And I think when you're a makeup artist, your bookings aren't reliable. You can't
Mm,
rely on being just a makeup artist. I know some people can, but I think in this day and age now, it's so touch and go. I could have a really busy month and I won't even need to do the brows on the side. But then it could get into, I'd probably say about March time, and there's like
mm,
this temporary lull. No one wants their makeup done. And I feel like doing my brows alongside really just breaks things up.
mm,
Um, I feel like it just gives me motivation to then do a makeup, and then the makeup gives me motivation to do brows. If that makes
mm.
sense, it's again
Yeah.
doing two different, very different things, but having the happy medium between the both. I don't know, just gives me more drive on each side. I think if I just did makeup, I think I'd get bored.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
very,
they go hand in hand anyway. I think
yeah,
they're
I
a
think
really
so.
good service.
Yeah, so some of my clients that come to me for makeup are like, "Oh my god, you do brows? Can I have my brows done?" And then people
Yeah.
that come to me for brows then like book me for their weddings, and it's nice. I have like a little community in Worcestershire, and they sort of come to me for both, which is great. But yeah, I don't think I could ever stop doing brows, and I don't think I could ever stop doing makeup. I think I love them equally for very different reasons, but yeah, I do like doing brows in the week for sure.
Yeah, I think like I say, they go hand in hand really, really well. And
Yeah,
I think it's a really smart move, for any business owner and any makeup artist to look at ways that they can develop their brand beyond just the makeup. I think we live in that kind of business world now, really. Obviously, a lot of people we get on this show are aestheticians as well. So
yeah,
they're more on the surgical, not in, the injectables end. But again, same thing with them. They'll have sort of their hero treatment, if you
yeah.
like, but then they'll have other packages and treatments that they can offer
That's
as
it.
well. And you need to be fluid. You need to be able to adapt to this ever changing market. As trends come and go as well.
Exactly. So, to be fair, for my brows, it's all brow laminations. Everyone loves a fluffy brow.
Yeah.
So, I think that's again for brows. I think that's just a trend that I feel like everyone's gonna keep wanting. So, I think it was good to invest in doing brow lamination. It's probably the most booked service I have really, alongside my
Mm,
makeup. And yeah, I think everyone likes to come for different things as well. And it's nice to know that I am known for makeup mostly. And then it's like a little surprise knowing that I do little other things as well along the side.
Yeah, and like you say, you've got that opportunity when you're doing a set of brows or you're doing your makeup to kind of cross promote your other
Yeah.
services, really. It comes naturally into conversation, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely, especially for brides. Because I'm like, oh, do you want your brows done
Yes.
before your day? Do you want a lash lift before your day? And it's just nice that they can come to one person instead of going to different salons, especially if they
Yeah.
don't know the industry either. They don't know who to go to. So it's nice to sort of
Yeah.
stick with your one person as well.
Absolutely. You also offer one-to-one makeup classes, don't you? So what do you love most about teaching someone else how to use makeup for their face?
So it's like what I said before. So I feel like everyone's in their own little bubble with their own makeup and their makeup kit, and they've got their ride or dies that they've been using for like 10 or 20 years, and they're like, well, this isn't working for me anymore, and my skin's changed and I'm more
Mm.
oily now or I'm more dry now. I'm still using blue eyeliner, and I'm like, no, we're not going
Wow.
to do that. Susan, stop using the blue liner. So it's nice to
Wow.
like refresh everyone. And when I get a few young girls come in, so teenagers come in, and it's so nice to start them off their makeup journey.
Yeah.
I feel like
They're starting off better than the rest of us.
that's it. I feel like we never had that when we were younger.
No.
We were just watching these YouTube videos, like we said before. You know, these YouTube videos teaching us what to do, and I feel like these girls come in and they wear makeup, but they're doing it wrong, and their moms are like, "Oh my god, please sort her out. She's got big brows. She's got orange skin." And I was like, "Right, we went through this. We went through this. It's fine."
Yeah, we've been here.
Yeah,
I think I'm showing my age here a little bit as well because 'cause I'm a bit older than you, so YouTube came quite late for me. If I think when I was starting out at makeup, 15, 16, there was no such thing. There was the little,
yeah.
teenagers magazines with the little sticks,
Oh my
and that
god.
was my makeup school. So,
Yeah.
for me, when YouTube really became the place, I would have been probably 18, 19 at that point,
Yeah.
which is a while ago now. So yeah, it changed things massively. And now I see kids walking around at
Oh my
16
god, I
and I'm
know.
like, they're better than I am.
Yeah, they're better than me. So,
Yeah. I know they
they are.
put us to shame, don't they?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they do. But they're just on their phone. It's so accessible. And again, I
Yeah,
love that for them. They're learning at a young age on how to do their makeup properly. And
yeah,
I feel like it's good for the one-to-ones for different age groups, for the young girls who's starting off, and then you've got middle-aged ladies that are trying to get out of their ruts and their
yeah,
comfort
bad
zone.
habits.
That's it, and trying to refresh their look, and it's nice when they leave and they're like, "Oh my god, I wouldn't have even tried that," or "That
Mm.
product I haven't even heard of." And it's nice to be again implementing my knowledge into someone's personal routine. I just think that's so nice. I just feel part of something.
It's given me food for thought. I must say, Jordan, I may have to look at doing this myself because I
That's
feel like I'm
it.
getting into a bit of a rut. And
Yeah,
it's I've noticed my skin changing. I'm 35 now, so I can't apply makeup the way I did 10 years ago. It just
yeah,
doesn't sit the same.
yeah,
I mean, I work in aesthetics, so for me, of course, the skin boosters, the Botox, all of that helps the way your makeup sits.
yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely had to have another little look at the way I do things, and I've been putting out little stories and asking my friends, going, what the hell do you use now?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, and
I
I feel like
can't put thick concealer,
yeah,
and then I
exactly.
can't anymore.
It does. It does. It changes all the time. I feel like makeup has a turnaround every 6 months, and
Yeah.
it's trying to keep up with that, which is daunting for people. They're like, "Well, this worked for me 20 years ago, so I'm just going to keep
Yeah.
with that." And I'm like, "Right, well, your skin's different now. You need to
I hate to
change
tell you,
that."
Susan,
Yeah, that's it.
but
We need,
you're
yeah.
20 years older.
Yeah, and I feel like people's colouring changes, and no one knows. I find in my one-to-ones, no one knows how to match themselves. Everyone
Mm.
matches their neck now, and I'm like, no, you need to match your chest because that's where all the warmth is. That's where all the colour is, and it's nice
Mm.
that you just transform someone's face by just matching their colouring properly.
You've sold it to me, Jordan. I need to invest in getting a little one-to-one session. You've
That's
definitely sold
it.
it.
You only need
Um,
like half hour.
It needs to be done. How have things changed over the past 8 years in the social media space for makeup? I think we've touched on
Yeah.
TikTok, we've touched on YouTube, but how has Instagram kind of impacted your business?
Oh, massively. I think Instagram is probably the main platform for me, definitely. I've tried to do the old fashioned way with business cards,
Mm,
business cards, business cards, wedding fairs, and even Facebook now, I feel like I struggle to touch on.
mhm,
Um, I probably get a quarter of the engagement on Facebook, and that's Facebook. I mean, everyone's on Facebook. So Instagram is very much current. Everyone's on it, no matter what age anyone is now. I feel like Instagram is the
mhm,
platform, especially for makeup artists, because you can just post your whole portfolio on there, and it's so
mhm.
accessible for people
It's
to view.
it's such a visual job, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like
Yeah.
Instagram is visual, and it's very much in your face when you post. But I feel like now the algorithms with Instagram change. I
Mm.
think someone told me it was every 6 months or something like that that the algorithm changes. And it's so hard to keep up with things. It's like, right, 30-second reels are in. Okay, 6 months later. No, it's multiple posts. You need to do like
Yeah.
a carousel, and then it's stories. Everyone watches just, and you just can't keep up. It is
Mm.
hard, but when you get it, you definitely get the benefits.
You've just gotta keep going, haven't you? And I
Yeah.
I think, the key to that is having a solid strategy that hits
Yeah.
multiple points that you
Yeah.
can you've gotta be quite fluid. Again, it goes back to being quite malleable in your content creation plan and not solely relying on one methodology.
Yeah.
So, you've just got to do lots of things a little bit at a time, and then you'll build a system where it works for you rather than just going off. You get a lot of these people now who are advising you to do it this way, do it that way. This is how the algorithm works. It's like no one really knows,
No one knows.
so
No
do
one knows.
what works for you. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I find people like to see you on your page. If you're not
Mm.
posting you, I feel like you don't get as much engagement. So say like I posted a video of myself, God, it goes through the roof. And then I post like a client the next day and it's like,
Yeah.
a few likes.
Yeah.
It,
It's the
it,
same for everybody.
yeah.
It is, and I think as well, I think customers have got very savvy now with sales messaging. So, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, people were a little less savvy, especially with the influencer boom. People didn't really realize they were necessarily being sold to. I think
Yeah.
now people know they're being sold to. So even when you just post your work with a sort of more salesy call to action or like book in or booking link in bio, it's like they know instantly being sold to. So it puts them off, it turns them off wanting to engage. So
That's
I think
it.
trying to post content that's not based around necessarily what you do all of the time, which
Yeah.
sounds counterintuitive, but actually it's just to do with psychology of how people have changed over
Yeah,
time.
definitely. It's how it works. And not taking the business too seriously. I find
Mm,
when your business is you can do like a too professional route, I suppose. And
sure.
where I'm from, it's very, what's the word? Small towny, I suppose, in Worcestershire. Everyone knows everyone. And I feel like when you show your personality through your brand, people want to listen, people want to get to know you, people want to come to your salon. And I find when I into my personal life, what I'm up to, and then they come in for treatments. They're like, "Oh, Jord, I saw this," and I was like, "Oh my god, I've never met you before." But yeah, then we have
Yeah.
a conversation, and I think I've only started to learn that in the last year or so, that when I do let people in and put my guard down a bit with the business, I've got more clients. It is
Mm,
bizarre because you think when you first start a business, right, corporate, professional, I need to
yeah.
be, I need to be on it
Yeah.
crisp all the time. I've got a reputation to withhold, and that comes to an extent, I suppose. But people love to see you and what you're up to. Everyone's nosy. Everyone's
They
nosy.
do. They do, and it is the same, within the aesthetics field. And actually, you'll find most of this sort of companies, businesses, brands, whatever you want to call them, that do really, really well on social media are less clinical in their
Yeah,
approach. And
yeah,
actually, that they're normally not the doctors, the nurses. It's almost a bit of a barrier for people to feel comfortable.
that's
So
it.
you'll find you've got a lot less really popular esthetician doctors than you have people who are maybe more on the beauty therapy side.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I do agree. I think that there's definitely a bit of psychology behind that.
Oh
So,
yeah.
what advice would you give a new makeup artist?
Oh, keep at it. Definitely. It's heart destroying when you first start because when you don't have fully booked Saturdays, you're like, what is the point? Why have I invested in all this kit? And I've got like 4 bookings a week. I think just keep going with makeup. And I think that was another thing why I started the brows alongside. While I was building up my makeup client, my makeup reputation, people always want brows and people trust
Mm,
brows. You can't go wrong
mm,
really with a brow wax and a tint. And that was way
mm,
before lamination came in. But I think with makeup, it's hard for people to trust you because it is such
mm,
a personal treatment. Um, and I do say to girls that come in and do one-to-ones with me that are makeup artists, and they're like, "Oh, I'm getting really deflated, and I can't get my name out there." And I'm like, "You need to just keep going." I did so much free stuff when I first started.
mm,
I used to go to Manchester and do free makeup for like people off X on the beach just to
mm,
get my name out there. And it is hard. It is really hard, and I've seen makeup artists come and go, and it is upsetting because it's like if you stuck at it, there is not a
yeah.
lot of us going around, and people want it. It's just they don't know what they want really, and I think for new makeup artists, it's just getting your niche, getting your style down to a T, and people will
Mm.
come, and it's just waiting for that time for your business to just click. But it's hard when it doesn't click yet.
I think that's the case across all businesses, though. I think there's a lot of this now, and again, I think social media plays a part in that. This mentality that there's the quick rich ways of doing business.
Yeah,
Get rich quick. That's what I
that,
meant. Get
yeah,
rich quick ways of doing
yeah,
business. That you can make this amount of money just by doing this course overnight, or you can
yeah,
launch a digital marketing agency and make 6 figures overnight. And it's this fast-paced world that we live in, so people are really disheartened when they realize there's a lot of grind
yeah.
behind getting those wheels to actually move.
That's it. And when I did makeup like 8 years ago, it was new. People wanted it, and they were like, "Oh my god, there's a makeup artist in Worcestershire." There was only a
Mm,
few of us around, and then now there are so many people that aren't makeup artists, and they know how to do their own makeup. So it's now
mm,
fighting that battle instead
mm,
of people not knowing about makeup artists. It's now like, well, everyone's a makeup artist. I could do my own makeup. It's a
mm.
bit more like that now. But I think if you're starting out doing makeup, just keep going. Like it's taken me 8 years to get a name
Mm.
for myself, but you got to get your brand on point as well. I find that's the main thing.
You have, and I think you've just got to listen to client feedback with stuff like
Yeah,
that, with brand and stuff. If the brand, because I think a lot of people think they come up with a brand initially and they do their, color palette and their logo and their brand name, and they think that has to stick for the duration of their career, and it's not true. If it
yeah,
doesn't work, if you find, I mean, I've had several iterations of my brand over the
yeah,
first 18 months because I'm tinkering. I'm learning more about the market, I'm learning more about my client. I've changed my brand messaging sometimes to think
yeah,
actually what I thought would work doesn't. So let me alter that. So again, it goes back to being malleable, it's being fluid, it's being willing to make those necessary changes, and actually taking in the information that's coming back in to your business and thinking, okay, let's change some of that. And if it needs a bit of a rebrand, do it. Don't be afraid to do that.
yeah. I think rebrands are a big deal. I used to be called Makeup by Jord for years,
Okay.
and then my old salon that I had was called Makeup and Beauty Lounge, and I did that with a beautician. So it was very like generalized. And then I
Yeah.
think since I've simplified it to literally Gloss
Mm,
Studios, it's quick. People know what it is,
mm,
Whereas before it was very wishy-washy, oh, makeup by
mm,
Jord type thing. Now I think everyone knows Gloss. It's just an easy name to remember, and they know to come for
mm.
makeup. So I think when you've got your brand in place, people start to think, oh yeah, they know. People talk about you, where you live, and
Mm.
the name
How
sticks.
have you find it? How have you find moving? I'm interested to know this because I've never personally used my own name in my brand. I've had several brands.
Yeah,
And for me, it doesn't work. I've got my own feelings on it.
yeah,
How has it been different since dropping your name in your brand and moving towards just a brand of its own?
yeah.
How how have you found that change?
Oh, so much better. So
Mm,
much better. I feel more professional.
mm,
Um, and it's just more streamlined. And I feel like make when you put your name in a brand. I was talking to my aesthetics girl that's at Gloss with me, and she's just done a whole rebrand, and she had her
mm,
name, and she was just
mhm.
like, Jord, it just doesn't hit anymore.
Nope.
No one has their name in their brand anymore, and I feel like you're putting yourself in a little box with having
Mm,
having that brand. And now I can take Gloss anywhere. It can be Gloss Academy again, like what I've done, a spin-off for Gloss Bridal.
mm,
You're opening yourself up to more opportunities, I think, with a simplified, broader
mm.
name. I feel.
I feel the same way, and it's just you piqued my interest when you said that you'd kind of changed from having a name. And obviously, in the world of aesthetics, a lot of people choose that route. A lot of
Yeah,
people do use
it's your
their
first
own
name.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, like
first
my name's,
name.
for example, Jessica Messenger Aesthetics, Jessica Aesthetics, whatever. There's a lot of that, and I don't think it's not impactful enough from a brand building point of view.
Yeah,
And unless you've got quite a unique a name that's quite snappy, either there's some alliteration, there's something going on that makes it quite you know, maybe you've got quite a upmarket brand, for example,
yeah,
and you've got a name that feels quite luxurious, then it works. But I
that's
think
it.
you have to be careful choosing that as a default method of
I think.
branding your business.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like since I've changed from Makeup by Jord, I'm more well known, if that
Mm,
makes sense.
yeah.
Um, and I find like the makeup artists that do have names in, it's very much makeup by,
Mm.
makeup by, and
I
I
mean,
feel
from an SEO point of view and a Google search point of view, it's an absolute nightmare, just to let
oh
people
yeah,
know. So it's you know there are a lot of contraindications to choosing that route, but it is good to get your feedback on it as well. And we'll bring it on then to what's next for Gloss. What's in the pipeline? Have you got any plans in the imminent future?
so I've always wanted to teach. I've dabbled in a bit of it before, and I feel like the next step that I can go to is like a makeup academy. I have a lot
Mm,
of people message to qualify, and obviously I don't have a that my qualification in place, like an AET qualification to qualify people. So that's why I just do my one-to-ones. But I feel like it's a slow builder to get to that
mm.
reputation for people to actually learn and qualify from you. And I'm not there yet, but I feel like that would be my next move. Teach and makeup artists, but at a qualified, accredited level.
Yeah, I think that would
Yeah,
be great. And like you say, you know, you're working towards that. So sounds like an amazing goal. Really
yeah.
does, Jordan. We're coming to the end of the episode now, then, really. So, if you want to let our listeners know where they can find you online.
Okay, so you can find me on TikTok under Gloss Studios, Instagram Gloss Studios and Gloss Bridal, and then Facebook, obviously Gloss Studios as well. And I do have a website that I've just launched. Again, Gloss Studios. It's all gloss. It's on
I mean,
everywhere. You can't miss
it's
me.
perfect. You know,
Yeah,
and again, it goes back to that branding side of things. It's easy to remember, it's not hard to forget. You know, it's the same across your social media. So yeah, no, kudos to you. And I love it. It was one of the first things that I picked up on. Great name. And best wishes for the future, Jordan. Thank you so much for joining us today. You've been an absolute pleasure.
cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.